ready to question everything? Tune in.
Out there, what's the plan? Are we pawns or the kings of the land?
Welcome back to the Robert and Crew Show. As always, I'm your host, Robert.
And I'm your co-host, Crew.
And tonight's, how are you feeling, Crew?
I'm amazing.
You're feeling amazing. That's always good to hear. My boy Crew is feeling amazing. Did you have to work today?
No, I did not.
Well, that's always call for celebration. No work? What's up, Julie? So tonight, Crew wanted to talk about Tartaria. Tartaria, the wonderful, the amazing, the mythological, possibly a little bit scientifical Tartaria. What's in store tonight, Crew?
We got some theories for y'all tonight. In our own point of view, of course, but, it makes a lot of sense. We're going to talk the Rothschilds. We're going to talk about the Illuminati. We're going to talk about,
what are some of your
the ice wall here and there,
What are some of your main theories behind Tartaria?
Okay. So let's start off with 1776.
The year that changed it all.
Mm-hmm. Now, this was supposedly the year of the freedom of America, right?
Right.
No. It was the year to get rid of the knowledge of the ether, of the advanced civilization that was once upon a time on every single map there ever was, and that was all throughout the world.
Right.
So that was the same year that in another country that the Illuminati was made, and also the Rothschilds came into play.
And for those of you who don't know who the Rothschilds are, who are the Rothschilds, Crew?
One of the biggest family names to ever run the world.
And why do you think they run the world?
Because there's only a few names in this world that run every single country.
Well, the Rothschilds were bankers, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So they ran banks and select corporations, and they were supposedly high up there, along with people like J.P. Morgan and Chase,
Mm-hmm.
and then other people like the Rockefellers.
Yep.
Yeah. So how do they tie into Tartaria?
Well, that's when they were formed, right?
Yeah. And this image that's popped up on the screen, this is on a map of Grand Tartary.
Mm-hmm.
I'll try to figure out or find a better image than that, but it was a place at one point. There was the Grand Tartarian flag also.
No.
But with the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers and all these groups of bankers that you've just brought up, how are you going to tie them into Tartaria?
Okay. I normally don't, suggest this, but this right here is where you need to go to a specific app and ask the question. Because it's hard for me to wrap around that. Because
Yeah,
we're
but
trying to wrap around this all day.
you brought up the Rockefellers and the
No,
Rothschilds.
no, only the Rothschilds.
Right, but you brought it up.
Right.
So why'd you
And
bring it up if it had no connection to Tartaria?
it does. Because 1776, right?
Right, but 1776 had nothing to do with or not Tartaria, but the Rockefellers. The point of what 1776 was supposedly that was the year that they changed history, or they had a big war and were able to rewrite history the way that they wanted. Supposedly. That's the 1776 theory, is that 1776 was the Great War, but it was also the rewriting of history, the change of the history books, the change, well, not like basically the birth of the American history book. So, like, they was just trying to rewrite history and claim certain spots or certain buildings were built by them, when in all reality, those buildings were founded. They weren't built. You would say you constructed that building. You wouldn't say you founded it.
Exactly. Now, the reason why I said go to, Grok, ChatGPT about this, of the
Right.
Rothschilds connection, because here's the thing. I cannot specifically, I've been trying to put two and two together because when I was doing my research, right, Rothschild was one of the biggest names that we got popped up alongside Illuminati being formed around that time, the mud flood
Well,
theory.
the mud flood theory is no do we really even know when the mud flood occurred? Like,
Around that time.
what was the time period that the mud flood would have occurred? Let's ask Grok here. Hey, Grok, what year did the supposed mud flood that took out Tartaria happen? Okay, or don't answer me. What year supposedly did the mud flood happen that took out Tartaria?
Mud flood and Tartaria. Let's dig into that theory. In the Tartaria mud flood conspiracy, that wild theory about a super advanced lost empire getting wiped out, there's no one official year. It floats around the 1800s, mostly late 19th century, like around 1892 or even 1834 in some versions. People point to buried windows, half-sunken doors in old cities, and say whole civilizations got dumped under mud, then rediscovered and rebuilt as ours. Here's what they usually show as proof. Check these out. That one's from old excavation shots. Looks like streets got buried deep, right? And this, circular towers dug out of dirt, like they were always there underground. Even fancy expo halls from the early 1900s get called ancient Tartarian leftovers. Honestly, it's all pseudo-history. No real evidence, just vibes and cherry-picked photos. But hey, makes you look twice at basements, doesn't it?
So it would be like the early 18 to late 1800s.
Okay. Ask Rock about the mud flood 1776 Tartaria connection.
Is there a connection between 1776 and the Tartaria theory?
Yeah, there's a weird link. Let's dig in. Yeah, in the wilder corners of Tartaria lore, especially the stuff blending it with hidden resets, 1776 pops up as this big pivot point. Not because anything happened to Tartaria right then. Most mud flood tales pin it later, like mid to late 1800s. But conspiracy folks tie it in symbolically. They say 1776 was when the Illuminati kicked off. May 1st, Adam Weishaupt's crew, Rothschild banking exploded, and the American Revolution kicked in, all to erase the old world. Like Tartaria, supposedly this globe-spanning, free energy utopia with star forts and crystal tech, was too threatening to the new control grid. So they rewrote maps, buried cities under mud, or resets, and spun the US founding as a fake-out. Democracy on the surface, but really a debt-slave system under Freemason Illuminati thumbs. Check this old map from around 1775. See how Tartaria still sprawls across Asia, right next to the Americas? They claim it vanished from records soon after, like poof. Another one, Europe-Asia border zone, Tartars everywhere. Poof, gone by the next century. And yeah, some art even throws in Masonic eyes or pyramids, making 1776 the death of Tartaria year. Total vibe, zero proof. It's all what if stacked on old maps and buried windows. Fun rabbit hole though. Makes July 4th feel suspicious, right?
Okay, that's weird. That is weird. Like, that's odd.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the connection. That's the connection with the Rockefellers and the Rothschild. Is the banking industry went up the same year as the year that changed the world, 1776.
Well, the Rockefellers haven't been mentioned at all yet.
Right. They're another big family though.
Right. So with the Rothschilds, and the Illuminati and the Freemasons all, coming into play, during 1776. And then you have the Great Revolutionary War. They all collaborated because they wanted to get rid of what they saw as a threat. They wanted the control. They wanted to eliminate all of Tartaria to, start over from their vision.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we got the whole martial law issue, the whole, debt, and all of the stuff that they have control of now. Now, there was another thing that supposedly the reason why it started right after Tartaria up and disappeared for the survivors who were from Tartaria, the insane asylums.
Well, so I was going to ask you, I was going to say, have you heard of the orphan train theory?
No.
So back in the day, there were these things called orphan trains
Okay.
and they're very real. What they were is um, a bunch of children without parents, usually accompanied by a priest or a some kind of social worker or some kind of government worker or something like that.
Yeah.
They were taken on a train, accompanied by that person, to a city like Chicago or New York, possibly even Kansas City, Arizona, you name it, just about any big name city, that these trains would go to those cities. And they would populate parts of the cities that did not have big name populations. So it was like they were purposefully rewriting history by implanting children that they could teach and they could mold any way they wanted because these children didn't have parents.
Right.
And basically, the children would get adopted out to people that were already living in those cities.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the orphan train epidemic. And the orphan trains, that's a big thing. Like, it's why did all of these kids not have any parents? Well, the theory behind it is that these were the lost children of Tartaria, and their parents were Tartarian people, or what was left of the Tartarian Empire, that was shuffled into these insane asylums. And right around the time of tuberculosis, they all died.
Right.
So you have to look at the fact that the theory here is that the government literally put a crap ton of people, what was left of an empire, into insane asylums, and then basically left them all to die, stole their children, put their children in random cities, adopted them out to random families. Some of them were even adopted out as farm work. And I can even like verify this too, and this is fact, is that some of the kids that came off the orphan trains were adopted to houses that were they were basically, they weren't used as, like, they weren't treated as kids. They were used as like almost like slaves,
Right.
which is absolutely insane if you think about it. Like, these people adopted kids to use them as like the hand of work, like the working hand around the house. Absolutely insane, because like I know people kind of do that today, like with their own kids, by making their kids do chores and stuff. But that's a whole nother ballpark, to like literally go seek out a child strictly just to do chores around the house.
Right.
Like, the only reason you're adopting a child is so that they can clean and do all of the shit you don't want to do.
Exactly.
That's a crazy theory. That's a crazy theory. But have you heard about incubator babies?
Mm-mm.
So another weird one, man, is during the World's Fair, we had a very odd thing that happened. Either these were babies that had medical problems and were put on display for the world. Okay, that's one theory that we can say. Or hear me out. They figured out how to create or clone like babies back in the day, and they put it on display for the world. And that was incubator babies. Some people referred to these kids as kids without souls. How weird, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's all at the same time, man. It's the time of the World's Fair. Okay, the World's Fair is like a lot of Tartarian history. A lot of Tartarian history, because you know as well as I do that everybody wants to link all of the World's Fair architecture to Tartaria, and all of the weird factors of like some of that architecture being built out of plaster, and some of that architecture catching on fire or purposefully being torn down and burnt at the end of the fair. Structures that they said were temporary structures. And if you looked at them, they were like super insane, like created. They didn't look like they were temporary. They looked like stone. They didn't look like plaster. They didn't look like they were cheaply made. They looked like they were nice. They were nice. It does blow my mind though on like why would you create such a beautiful place and then put Chicago where it is now? You know what I mean? Like the Chicago's World's Fair is like one of the prettiest pictures I've ever seen in my life. And then you look at Chicago now, and that is the definition of a shithole. I'm sorry, but Chicago is like, if there's anybody here that's from Chicago, I'm sorry. Like, I know there's wonderful people in Chicago, but Chicago is literally the definition of a shithole. Same
Well,
thing with like places, even here in KC, man, we have literal like really crap parts of town, like that are so bad you don't want to be there at night.
well,
You
okay.
don't even want to
So,
be there during the day.
exactly. And go back to 1776 real quick. The Vatican, right, had footage of 1776 of the sky, which I've sent you the video, right?
Right, but we can't play video this round.
Right, right. And if you can try to find it in image form and show it, that'd be cool. Better.
I'll try. I don't think.
But when I saw that, I was like, this is definitely not AI generated.
No, they do not have an image of it.
But you can see objects in the sky flying. Of course, it's black and white, right? But it was so interesting to see, and the fact that the Vatican had it makes you want to think, like majorly think.
Okay, I can't play the video, but I can show the screenshot of the video basically on Instagram. Do you really believe that this is authentic?
Yeah, because here's the thing. Um, there was a guy, can't remember his name at the top of my head,
Right.
but he went to the Vatican in like it was either the night, I think it was the 1820s, right?
This says this was recorded on the 21st of March 2026.
It came out recently, right? Because I just recently came across it on
I
TikTok.
don't know, man. That might be some AI bullshit.
No, literally, I just came across this like recently, right? When I was doing Tartaria research,
Right.
and this video, right?
Here, will it play? What is it? UFOs? I can't make it any bigger. I'm sorry, guys. What the heck is that? I don't know. This footage looks really grainy and it looks really weird. Is this supposedly from the the chronoverse or sphere, whatever it is, the chrono,
Yeah.
yeah, the chronoverse.
Yeah.
You know that that's never been proven real, right?
Well, thing is though, back in like I think it was like 1820, right?
Yeah,
This guy went into the Vatican Library, right?
yeah.
And came across that.
I mean, it's interesting. I'd like to do a little bit more research myself on that, but a part of me really wants to call those videos bullshit. Like the chrono verse or whatever the hell it is, the chronovisor. That's what it is, the chronovisor. The chronovisor is never been proven to be real, and they claim that they even like have video of Jesus like being crucified. And you would think that if that was true, that they would put that out for the whole world to see because it proves the Bible, it proves everything, it proves all of it. But not once has the Vatican ever said, "Oh, yes, we have legitimate footage, and here it is."
Well, here's the one thing that okay.
So why would they leak it now?
So here's the thing, okay? The one thing that during 1776, when the Illuminati, was formed,
The Bulgarian Illuminati.
yeah, and the Rothschilds came into play, right? Besides when they were doing all making everything their way, right? They were turning spiritual into religion. They were doing all this stuff. And the first ever Tartarian king, right? When I
Yeah.
was doing my research, was Solomon, the son of David. And David, right?
Is that based on location? So are we thinking that where was King Solomon at? What location was that?
That okay, so King Solomon, right, was every okay, so basically we gotta remember, right? Everything used to be connected. All the lands used to be connected at one point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, King Solomon, if you remember correctly, was the son of King David. David, the
Yeah.
story from David and Goliath.
Yeah.
So you gotta think about that area. Okay. Now,
It's like the Middle East. That's like the Middle East, right?
yeah,
I thought Tartaria's roots were in Asia.
dude, everywhere Tartaria was.
Right, but the Grand Tartaries and the Tartars, they were of Asian descent, right?
But you have to understand now, when it comes to Tartaria being everywhere,
Right.
like I said earlier to me, everywhere. So with King Solomon being the very first ever king of Tartaria, you have to think, okay, there was giants in Grand Tartary, all over Tartary.
Mm-hmm.
They were known as the Nephilim.
So you're tying in that you believe that Nephilim or the Nephilim lived alongside people in Tartaria?
Yes.
Do you think they got along with each other, or do you
Oh
think
yeah. Oh yeah.
so? What? So okay. So if all of that happened the way that you believe it happened, and now you're saying that in Tartaria there were Nephilim giants that were literally living alongside the Tartarians, how the hell did Tartaria fall?
The mud flood. The reset.
Well, so the mud flood killed all the giants?
Well, no. Because if you think about it, a lot of giants have been spotted over the years, right?
Right, but we don't see them every day. It's
No.
not a thing that happens all the time unless you're talking about giants and the talk of freak show people like Shaquille O'Neal and Yao Ming. Like literal, like those in my book are giant people.
Well,
But
okay.
if you're talking about Nephilim giants, people believed the Nephilim to be anywhere between what 12 and 24 foot tall.
Yes. Now there has been some videos leaked out. I don't know if recently or within the years, right?
See, but the problem with recent videos, like even up to 3 years ago, bro, is AI.
Well, there there was one specific video I came across the other day that happened in South America, right?
Yeah,
Now it was showing from a distance, right? Two giant women that were considered Nephilim or Nephilim, right?
yeah.
Walking in the distance together, taller than trees.
Well, there's the famous video out of what it was Brazil or something of the guy that is filming the giant that's on the side of the mountain, and it's literally like standing there, and he can see. It's a famous video. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure, like if anybody can look it up. The problem is even I have a hard time going. There's no way that that's real. Like I'm just perplexed in the fact of my brain does register if that's a real thing standing on top of a mountain, that person is gigantic. And they're and like in order to see that person, they're huge.
Yeah.
They're huge.
Right.
And those kind of people, that's like saying you saw Bigfoot. You know what I
Right.
mean? That doesn't happen very often.
And can you pull up some pictures of the giant standing next to people from Tartaria?
I mean, those are all AI images, though. Okay. I don't know. Like, this is supposedly a real photo. That would be insane.
Yeah. And
See how tall she is?
yeah. Like, okay. Even like in the Middle East, right?
Yeah.
There was American soldiers, right? Standing together right in front of like this Jeep or whatever.
Oh, that's AI shit. Or no,
No,
it's not. It's not AI. What the one you're talking about? I know the one you're talking about, and it's an optical illusion. The dude is standing on top of a car, and it looks like because of the way that he's positioned, it makes him look like he's bigger than everybody else on the entire like plane there, but he's not really that big. I promise you, it's not. It's an optical illusion. He's not actually a giant. And you're that actually came out of Africa. That was African military.
Well, no, it was actually Americans. I'm talking about a different video because I know what video you're talking about. Okay, so there's these two, like this guy was even standing next, was he like on a vehicle, right? There
Right.
was like he was like he looked like he was like 10, 11 feet tall, right?
Right.
In American like army attire. And he was like right in front of the Jeep next to these two like normal height guys, right? And the cameraman who was like doing this the whole time to get the whole view of everything in front of them.
Right.
The giant soldier like dude looked at him and gave him this like stern, pissed off look.
These just don't look real, bro. Like, check this out. I don't believe this. That looks doctored. Those two women in the very bottom here in the picture in the corner, there's no way that's real. I'm sorry. I don't believe that at all. They're like 30 feet tall. You see how big those fuckers are? There's no way possible. If these photos are authentic, I think I would lose my mind.
Well, what about that one video of that giant like person behind Trump heading into a building?
Oh yeah, the abnormally large Secret Service agent.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know that one's a rough one. I don't know who he is. I wouldn't say he's a Nephilim giant.
Because that one caught me off guard.
If I can find the picture of it, I'll bring it up. I know the guy you're talking about. He's freaking huge. Do you remember Nephilim Biden?
Well,
When
what's
Biden
funny,
grew 10 feet?
what's funny is, right, I came across this video, right? Remember how we were talking a while back about how somebody had been talking for Biden the whole time in
Right.
Biden's place? Well, there was a camera glitch where it actually showed who was actually talking, and it
Who was
wasn't.
it?
And then it went back to Biden.
And who was it?
I don't know. That's the thing. But he was an older gentleman. Looked like he was like in his like early to mid 60s, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe like late 50s. But
I couldn't find the photo.
okay. But yeah, like that one was that just proved that Biden wasn't the real one talking.
I mean, look, a part of me thinks that somebody else was running the country for the last half of Biden's presidency.
Right.
Hardcore. um, the man seemed to be in a very bad position, and I felt actually bad for him. I felt bad for Biden because, his wife and his kids and everybody around him were pushing him in that situation and really making him believe that he had a chance to like beat Trump the second time. And it was utterly ridiculous. Like nobody wanted Biden. And, he was losing touch with reality. That he's got some form of like mental degradation, some kind of like dementia or something.
Right.
But we kind of got onto the Nephilim subject, but I want to know more about what you think about the buildings of Tartaria, like what your theory is on why all this Roman Greco architecture and Asian architecture of some kind, it's not all, show up in almost every continent in the world.
Well, okay. You have to understand that was those buildings, right?
Mm-hmm.
Were to gather energy, like you even said. Now, all those buildings were not meant to be lived in or worked in. They were built on one purpose: to gather the energy from the aether.
Well, people lived in them, but yes, I also believe that if the Tartarian theory is correct, the buildings were created in domed or coned structures with almost like a lightning rod made out of gold or copper at the top that would hold a sphere made out of gold, usually with mercury, with free flowing mercury inside of it. And when lightning or if there was enough energy surrounding the aether in that point was close, it could harvest energy, and energy could be used by that building or by the surrounding area.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, they could tap into the use of free energy.
Mm-hmm.
Supposedly.
Yeah.
But why does this stuff show up on every continent?
Because we all have to understand that when it comes to Tartaria, right? It was everywhere. Tartaria controlled the entire world. Hence, Chicago being one, right? Tarlago.
Yeah.
Kansas City being another. Seattle. Washington, D.C. And a few other places. Everywhere throughout the United States, Paris, London, you name it. Greece, Rome.
Just about any place that had a World's Fair.
Yeah. And then you have the pyramids everywhere throughout the world.
Elmstead said, "Did you hear that story about CERN transporting antimatter?" And Tartaria for sure. CERN transporting antimatter? That's interesting.
That is interesting.
I did not hear about that.
Me either.
I don't know, man. When it comes to Tartaria, I think there's something to it. There's something to the theory. The theory does make sense. The problem is that there's no proof. And the proof that we're given
Mm-hmm.
is way too easy to be doctored. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Photos that are too convenient. The real evidence that we have are the orphan trains, the psych wards that got filled with these people, like literally got filled at one point with all of these people, and half the people died there. We don't even know who they were. Nobody was visiting them. Nobody cared about them. We were all told, or the people were all told, that they were crazy. And that's why they were there, but nobody really knew. Like, and then these trains of children that showed up to places where they were literally adopted out. Crazy. And then supposed buildings that were found. They weren't built, but found all over the states.
There's also two things, right, that we're forgetting. There's a book. First thing, there's a book, right? And I showed you the video a while back of a guy, showing this old book from the 1700s, right?
Yeah, I remember that video.
So that book shows maps of the world, how it looked, with Grand Tartary, China Tartary, Tartar,
Yeah.
on the maps.
Yeah.
And in that same book, it explained that globes were made.
The globes were a construct of the human. Yeah.
Now, when I was doing my research for the past freaking 4 days, bro, no joke. That's why I figured, we'd go and do the Tartaria theory tonight. Which, folks, we are going to still do our European series. Don't worry, we will do that. But this one, me and Robert were talking about earlier, and we figured we'd go and do this. Okay, so back to one of my favorite topics that we've done and we finished the series on was Terra Infinita, right?
Yeah.
Now, Tartaria is mentioned in that book.
Explain that to the viewers who have or have not heard of what Terra Infinita is.
So Terra Infinita is supposedly science fiction, right? I'm doing the hand gesture because it's supposedly science fiction. That's what the you're told. But so basically, Tartaria Infinita is about how it starts. It's about this explorer who is on a boat, right? He and his crew leave the ice wall and go into unknown territory.
His name was William something.
Yeah. I can't remember his last name. But his first name was William. And basically, him and his crew get confronted by this big old
giant boat.
So advanced that they've never seen before.
Yeah, it's like an oil tanker, but like 20 times the size of a normal oil tanker.
And how William described it, it was so loud, like it made this big old horn sound.
Yeah, it was like a giant foghorn.
Yeah. And they boarded the boat, and the captain of the boat asked him, "What's going on? What are you doing in our territory?" Yada, yada, yada. So he explains. So he says, "Well, here's a map of, what's safe and what's not safe." And he says, "Go here to the Ancestral Republic." So William and his crew get off the boat, go back onto their own boat, go to the Ancestral Republic, and get met by, I'd say, like their president or something, right?
Yeah.
Ancestral Republic. Well, the president or whoever it was says,
You're not safe here. There's a war going on. You need to go somewhere else. That's what's said.
right, and he explains this is, well, no, he says you can't leave, at all. You're not allowed to leave, because when they find out you left, you will not be able to return, basically.
Right.
He explains that something about resets happen many of times, and then goes on throughout the years that his daughter ends up taking over the story and explains about the 178 worlds beyond that's inside the Great Dome. Or lands, I should say, not worlds, lands.
The land's outside the ice wall. Yeah.
Yeah. And supposedly, I came across another map that shows lands beyond the Great Dome, other domes. But within that whole theory, right, around the time so with the whole grant the treaty, right,
The Treaty of what?
of Antarctica.
Oh yeah, the Antarctic Treaty.
Yeah. So any basically that comes into play with the Tartaria theory as well.
Well, the Antarctic Treaty is weird because all of the major superpowers in the world and some third world countries have all agreed not to mine natural resources, not to pollute, not to hurt, not to destroy, not to do anything wrong to Antarctica. So it's pretty crazy when you think about it. But I've actually heard that the Chilean government has a post in Antarctica, which is kind of weird. But I guess quite a few of the countries actually have posts in Antarctica,
Mm-hmm.
even though it's supposedly off limits.
Right. And what's funny is with Tartaria, and the whole, ice, and the whole treaty forming and all that. Basically, all the knowledge that we supposedly had back then during Grand Tartary and all that. And then all the resets we've ever had, it just gets confusing and confusing and confusing more and more the rabbit hole we go.
Well, I've heard that the history was destroyed.
It was.
So that would mean they probably went out of their way to like do book burnings, the takedown of architecture, and the destruction of technology that they didn't understand.
Because they had so if you look at some of the hieroglyphs, right, that or some of the paintings and some of the sculptures throughout all the world, right, that shows history,
Yeah.
they've shown technology
pictures that look like helicopters and cell phones and weird things that people that they shouldn't have had back in that time.
Exactly.
It's just like in like Coffrey's tomb, they found a Nokia phone or what looked like to be a chiseled out rock that looked like a Nokia phone,
Right.
which was very weird. It was not a working operable phone, but it was a rock that had been carved to look like a cell phone. Like, how the hell did they know what a cell phone looked like?
Right.
Did they really just imagine that and build that or and carve that and leave it as a gift? Like, why was that in the tomb? Really weird. And there was a Timex watch that ended up in a pharaoh's tomb that nobody knows how it got there, but it's a watch that literally says Timex on it. And Timex is a brand from like today. That's not a unknown watch. So that's just it's weird stuff, man. It's weird. Nobody knows how it got there. Nobody knows why. I mean, that brings in the whole terms like, is it Tartaria or is it time travel? I don't know. I don't know. A lot of people think Tartaria had technology like we had, but like tenfold better. And like that also goes to ask the question of, if Tartaria was so advanced, how come they couldn't protect themselves? How come they fell so easy?
Should we ask Rock that question? Just for humor.
In the Tartarian theory, why, if Tartaria was so advanced and so futuristic, how come a supposed mud flood took them out? Oh my god, it's not wanting to listen to me. In the Tartarian theory, if they were so technologically advanced and so like better off than we are now and had free energy and knew all of this stuff, how come a mud flood was able to take them out?
Good question. Let's unpack that plot hole. Oh man, that's the $1,000,000 hole in the whole Tartaria story. Why would super genius folks with free energy, wireless power, maybe even anti-gravity tech get wrecked by mud? The diehards say it wasn't just random dirt. They claim it was engineered, like a deliberate reset by shadowy elites, Illuminati, Jesuits, whoever. Think directed energy weapons, or some atmospheric weapon that liquefied soil worldwide, burying cities fast. Not a natural flood, but a cataclysm weaponized to wipe out the competition. Some versions go psychic war. Tartaria's giants or enlightened rulers fought off invaders, but lost, and the mud was fallout from their own tech backfiring, or a cover-up after a plasma event fried everything. Either way, they weren't taken out by weakness. They were sabotaged because their free energy grid threatened oil, coal, banks. Look at these buried windows. Classic proof they show. First floors sunk, like the whole ground level rose overnight. And here's another. Old excavation digs. Streets vanished under layers. Even wilder art imagines their tech, like domes harvesting ether energy before the wipe. But yeah, if they could harness the sky, why no shields? Why no warning? It's all vibes, no blueprints. Makes you wonder, if they were that smart, maybe the mud was just bad luck. Or maybe it's all made up to explain why old buildings look weird. Either way, fun to chew on at 2 a.m.
When it comes to tying all of this into modern day, what about the Tartarian giants? Where would they have gone? And are some of these videos that are captured, that have been captured, likely before the extreme use of AI, that show huge people on mountains or huge people in general. Are these Nephilim giants, or what is your thoughts on this?
Diving into giants and Nephilim, let's see what pops up. Oh, tying giants into Tartaria? Yeah, that's peak rabbit hole stuff. In the theory, these weren't just tall dudes. They were Tartarian giants, like 10 to 20 footers, maybe even bigger, who built those massive star forts, domes, and cathedrals with ease. Supposedly, they ran the show before the mud flood or reset wiped them out. Where'd they go? Conspiracy folks say they didn't vanish. They got hunted, buried, or hid. Some claim survivors retreated to remote spots like the Himalayas, Antarctica, or deep caves. Others go full biblical. These were Nephilim, the angel-human hybrids from Genesis, offspring of sons of God and women, giants who got too powerful, so God, or elites, flooded them out. Tartaria's just the last chapter before the cover-up. Modern sightings? Those blurry mountain videos. Think grainy 1990s camcorder clips of huge shadows on Everest or Patagonia get labeled as leftover Nephilim Tartarians. Pre-AI, yeah, no deepfakes, so people swear they're real. But honestly, most are pareidolia, rocks looking like faces, or hoaxed with perspective tricks. Check these giant skeletons they love posting. Old digs, massive bones, but zoom in, Photoshop, mammoth fossils, or straight-up 19th century newspaper pranks. Another one, looks legit till you see the scales off. And here's a mountain giant vibe. Blurry, sure, but probably just a climber or shadow play. My take? Fun lore. Mixes Bible, folklore, and what if old maps lied. But zero hard proof. No DNA, no bones that hold up. If giants walked, we'd have better pics than shaky VHS. Still, next time you're hiking, glance up, just in case.
How come there were so many reports that the Smithsonian had giant bones, but then immediately they were played down that they were falsified reports? There were several legitimate news sources back in the day that claimed that the Smithsonian had acquired giant skeletons.
Yeah, that's a classic one. Let's dig into it. Those old reports? Yeah, they were everywhere in the late 1800s. Newspapers like the New York Times or local rags hyping giant skeletons dug from mounds, often 7, 8, even 10 feet tall. Stuff like Smithsonian gets huge Indian skull or bones of prehistoric giant found near Miamisburg. Legit outlets ran them because yellow journalism was king. Sensational sells, right? Here's a collage of those clippings. Look how dramatic they get. But here's the twist. Most were either misidentified, mammoth bones, big animal fossils, exaggerated by locals wanting fame, or straight up hoaxes. The big one? The Cardiff Giant in 1869. A 10-foot petrified man unearthed in New York. Papers went wild. Crowds paid to see it, till experts called BS. It was gypsum, carved by a guy named Hole for profit. Even P.T. Barnum made a fake of the fake. Check this poster. Total circus vibe. And these giant digs? Often just tallish Native American remains. 7-footers exist, sure, like Robert Wadlow later, but no evidence of a race of supermen. Smithsonian actually collected mound stuff, early ethnology, but they never destroyed thousands. That claim? From a satirical site in 2014, fake headline about a Supreme Court order. Snopes, Reuters, AP all debunked it. No records, no proof. Modern pics you see? Doctored. Like this one. Original photo with a normal bone, edited to look mega. Or this excavation.
So basically,
CGI or hoax.
basically, Grok is just telling us the giants aren't real. So
That's what Grog wants you to believe. But here's the thing: giants were and Nephilim were talked about in the Bible.
yeah, quite a few different times.
Yeah, and also the whole David and Goliath story. And then, if giants were real, then how come Clinton, Hillary, went and decided to have a team go look for?
Gilgamesh's tomb. I know where that's going.
So yes, Grok does not know what she's talking about when it comes to giants.
Well, it's a cover up.
It is. It's a big cover up. The whole Tartaria, Nephilim, advanced civilization, energy, all that. The Rothschilds, the Illuminati, and the Masons all wanted to cover up the truth about what Earth really had back in the past.
Are you telling me the dinosaurs aren't real? I'm just fucking with you.
Oh, trust me, I already will say this: dinosaurs were very real back in the day.
Yeah, no, we have dinosaur bones.
Yeah.
But anyways, guys, it is getting late tonight. I didn't get home till late, so we're gonna have to end the show tonight. But we'll be back on tomorrow, and we'll be having something else to talk about. So we'll update everybody on the Facebook page. Also, crew, before we get off here, what is this?
This is the Robert and Crusoe Venmo link, where if you'd like to, not I have to, donate, so that way we can get stuff for the podcast, or so we can travel for the podcast. Anything and everything for the Venmo link is for the podcast.
All right. So, like Crew said, that's all just for the podcast. And other than that, our favorite kind of currency around here is if you just share the show. If you know somebody who would get enjoyment out of the show of any kind, please share it. Other than that, guys, we hope you have a wonderful night. Peace out from the Robert and Crew Show.